Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was sick over the weekend, so my voice is kind of trash. And this is the first time I'm doing something like this, so I'm terrified. So please be patient. Anyways, all of you pretty much already know me. I'm Ceili. That's my dad. My whole family is here right now. I'm 17, and I'm a mess. So allow me to elaborate. I have been struggling with mental illness and stuff related for pretty much my entire teenage life. I've been struggling with a persistent self-harm addiction since I was about 13 that I'm almost 4 months clean of. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I was 13, autism spectrum disorder when I was 15, started trauma treatment and therapy when I was 16, and recently was diagnosed with a mild case of DID, dissociative identity disorder. So I'm a mess, and I know what I'm talking about when it comes to mental illness and living with it. And the thing about mental illness, neurodivergence, addiction, it affects every part of your life, and that includes your spiritual life. But we don't really hear much about that, do we? That is something that has affected me. It kind of bothered me, especially when I was a bit younger. So when I was about 13 or 14, my faith, Catholicism, Jesus, I kind of stopped caring. Like, it became more of a routine to me. Like, go to Mass, do the sacraments. I mean, I couldn't just stop even if I wanted to because, hello, autism, routine. I have to keep doing it, even if I don't want to. But it didn't really go deeper than that. I didn't care. And that kind of went downhill because as I kept struggling with more and as my head got messier and louder, I started to feel like I had to hide from the church because I didn't really see anybody that I could relate to. I didn't hear anybody like me speaking out. So I thought that Catholic Church, people, and then in turn God would hate me. I thought that it would hate me because I couldn't stop spilling my own blood. I thought it would hate me because I wanted a girlfriend as much as I wanted a boyfriend. I thought that it would hate me for being so messy, and that made me kind of angry. So then I was angry at God, and I was angry at the church and everything, especially myself, because I felt like I didn't belong in the church. I was too messy for it, and I felt like there wasn't really a place for me. And that was kind of lonely, and it was pretty sucky. But eventually I started getting help, and that was really great. You know, help is nice. But I was still hiding. I was hiding myself from God and hiding myself from the church because that was easiest. It was easier than being myself, I guess, and all my messy glory, because I didn't think that the church or God would want me. What I've been slowly learning over the past few years is that that's not true. I mean, this is the part where I say something cheesy, like, there's a spot for everyone, we're all in this together. But I'm really not a cheesy person, and that stuff makes me angry. So what I'll say is, I mean, Catholic, it means universal. That's for everybody, even basket cases. And Jesus promised that the gates of hell wouldn't prevail. That doesn't mean they aren't going to try. And that you can kind of see that in our church, at least on earth, because I think sometimes our church is kind of bad at communicating. There isn't a lot of resources for mental illness, for LGBT, And I don't think that's necessarily their fault, but it's something that affected me, and I think it affects others like me. But that doesn't mean that the church doesn't want us. It just means that it doesn't know we're there. And I guess a lot of people who are running our church, and to, at least on earth, because God's supreme head, he's got all of this, but on earth, I think the older generation that we have, I don't think they realize that you could talk about this, or that there were, people who were messy, and if they were, it was more of, no, you keep that to yourself because convenience. That's not really how it works. But what that means is basically we're the new generation of church people, and even if we feel like we don't have a place, we do. We just gotta find it. If you can't find it, then make it. So it's there. You just gotta let yourself be there. And it can feel really difficult to be Catholic and have faith while you're dealing with mental illness and these kind of things, because there's a lot of rhetoric in the church, stuff that makes it seem difficult. I think we've all heard at least once, love Jesus with all your heart, follow his will, and you will be happy. But when your brain can't really make those chemicals, it kind of feels like a failure. But that's not really true, is it? I had a really good conversation with a really smart dude, and I told this to him, and he said something that really struck me. He said, instead of trying to find joy or happiness in your faith, try to find peace. And I was like, whoa, I can do that? Because living with anxiety and sensory processing issues, peace isn't really something that I'm used to. It's not really something that I thought that I could look for. But I've been thinking, maybe I could find that in Jesus. As he can do impossible things, and getting me to calm down, that's impossible, but I think he can do it. So if you ever feel like me, and when you hear things like, you will follow Jesus, you will be joyful in all things, you feel like you can't really do that, try to find peace in the fact that you're trying, that you do have faith, and that Jesus is there. And sometimes it feels like you're not trying, or you're not doing enough. And to steal a stolen quote, one of the best things that you can do is just to keep showing up. Just be there, because even doing the bare minimum is better than doing nothing at all. And sometimes the bare minimum is all you can do. Sometimes trying your best is literally just getting out of bed and being, Jesus, I don't want to live this day, but I'm going to thank you for it anyways. And that's still trying your best, and that's okay. Being Catholic is hard for a lot of reasons. But being Catholic and being messy is difficult. But it's not impossible. And we got this. Jesus loves all of us. We're all created in his image. And even if one of your crosses is mental illness or self-harm or same-sex attraction, you have that cross for a reason. And you can use that, I don't want to say bad because it doesn't seem right, but you can use that grossness, I guess, because that's how it feels sometimes. I don't need those, for good. Because he lets us do that. And I think that's pretty cool. And that's something that I'm trying to do today. Because, again, I haven't seen anybody speak out like this in a way that I can relate to. But I guess if nobody else has, then I will. And I guess that's the kind of attitude that we, as the young church leaders, need to have. If we don't see something in the church that needs to be said or resources, then we don't have to just sit and wait for somebody to be like, hi, I need help, or hi, is anybody going to actually explain this church teaching to me? I guess pray about it, do your research, and then speak up. You have a voice for a reason. God gave you a voice for a reason. And if you have that perspective that hasn't really been shared in the church, like me, I have the perspective of living with mental illness every day, have been for a long time, then use that perspective for good to teach, educate, all that. I hope that I've said the right things and I've maybe, I don't know, stuck somebody today. This was really terrifying, but yeah, so basically I'm a mess, but Jesus likes messes, and that's okay. If anybody has any burning questions they would like to ask, you can ask them. Also, I work here, so I mean, you can find me. But thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You got questions or no? Okay, thank goodness. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, someone did.